Hey everybody, Eric Foxman, Balanced Personal Training. Today I want to share with you 7 tips that you can do starting today to lose weight and keep it off. So, tip number 1 is use smaller bowls and smaller plates. It seems like a little thing, ha ha ha, no pun intended, but very often if we're given a bowl or a plate of a certain size, we have a tendency to fill it up to almost its maximum. So if you're given a bowl that's maybe 3/4 of the size or half the size for that bowl of cereal or soup, then you're going to be eating less. And you might say, well, I could just go back for seconds and fill it up. You can, but there's a huge psychological component at work there, just kind of finishing what's on your plate. So try using smaller plates and smaller bowls. It'll make a huge difference. There was a guy back in California at a gym where I used to train, and this was 20-25 years ago when elliptical machines were a big deal, and this was a pretty big guy. He was in his 60s, really kind of a hearty guy, and we talked and he said, Eric, I would like to lose weight. I'm doing my weights, X number of days a week. I'm doing my cardio on my elliptical machine. And he goes, I'm not losing weight. And my first question was, how are you eating? And he goes, I start off with a bowl of cereal every morning. And I'm like, well, that sounds okay. And he goes, no, Eric. He goes, it's a mixing bowl. And I started laughing because you think about the size of some mixing bowls. He could be easily having 1,000 calories of just cereal in the morning. So my suggestion, 20-25 years ago, which is my first tip to you, I said just eat out of a smaller bowl. And it doesn't have to be a teeny tiny bowl compared to what he was eating. Can you imagine if he had a regular sized bowl? He'd probably be losing a pound or 2 a week just of less cereal calories in him. The other thing is, you kind of notice, I probably have this book here. There's a book called Mindless Eating, and in one of their chapters they talk about sizes of plates and bowls and how that has a big impact on the amount of food we eat. So tip number 1 is use smaller plates and smaller bowls. Tip number 2 is eat flavorful foods, foods that have lots of herbs and lots of spices. I think about what people eat that puts weight on them, and very often they're sweet or they're salty, kind of crunchy foods, or foods that go down really easily. But a donut, a cake, beer, chips, those are mostly salty, fatty, carbohydrate, sweet foods, right? So I think if you want to lose weight, start eating foods that have more herbs, more spices in there. When was the last time that you prepared a meal and it had 3-4 cloves of garlic, had onions in there? How about cumin or coriander or turmeric, things like that? If you can eat with foods that have herbs and spices, that kind of different type of flavor profile will, in my opinion, make you feel more satisfied versus having a bowl full of spaghetti that just kind of, and you're inhaling it, or like I was saying, a piece of cake, which is basically just sugar and fat. So suggestion tip number 2 is eating foods that have a lot of flavor, a lot of herbs and spices. Tip number 3 is choosing foods that are crunchy, foods that will make you chew your food more. You think about a beer, average beer is going to have 200 calories, and we can finish that, 1, 2, 3 minutes? 200 calories in under 5 minutes. But if you think about something crunchy like an apple, carrot, radish, broccoli, not only are you getting vitamins and water and fiber from those fruits and vegetables, but you are getting what I call a chew factor. You have to remember that digestion starts in your mouth, okay? And as you chew your food, there are certain enzymes that get secreted in your mouth to start breaking down food, as well as there's a lot of saliva. So when you swallow your food, it goes into your stomach, there's more bulk, and then you have a sense of being full. Versus, let's say you have I gave an example of a beer, but even a protein shake or some kind of liquid. You know, that goes straight down. It skips an entire digestive process in the mouth. It doesn't even happen. And there's almost no saliva that is secreted to add bulk to that liquid. So the chew factor isn't there, and your sense of satisfaction isn't there. It was such a quick experience. So my suggestion is choose foods that you're going to be chewing, and you will feel more satisfied. Tip number 4, drink more water. You do not drink as much water as you think. And some people go, oh, it's so boring. Well, right, you know, put a slice of cucumber or lemon wedges or something to add a little bit of, you know, flavor or what have you to water. But very often we are eating when we should be drinking. Your body often is thirsty and it's not hungering for calories. But then what happens is we start eating, and let's say it's something with carbohydrates, whether it's a crunchy carbohydrate or a liquid one, and then you're setting yourself up to want more carbohydrates. So between meals, you know, while you're eating, I would always make sure you are guzzling water. And on top of that, if you think about what a carbohydrate is, okay, I'm going to put this on the screen. So glucose, for example, which is C6H12O6. Okay, carbo, carbon, hydrate, water. All carbohydrates are carbon molecules attached to water molecules. So sometimes you are just craving that water and you're getting all these extra calories because of the carbs. So think water first. Tip number 5. This is probably the toughest one. I don't want to say it takes willpower, but you need to kind of structure it into your meal. And that is letting your food sit for 5 or 10 minutes after you're done eating. Just relax. And especially this is true when we're at home and it's dinner. And that's, for many people, it's the largest meal of the day. There's a pot or a skillet in the kitchen that you can just kind of go back and, you know, put more on your plate or bowl. But sometimes if you're ravenous and you let yourself get to the point where you were so hungry, you inhaled your food, as my mom would say, you know, so you didn't do the chew factor. Your brain hasn't even caught up to the fact that you just put, you know, 500, 800 calories in your stomach in 5 minutes. So you should probably be close to being done. So what I suggest is just sit for a minute. Let it relax, have a little bit of water, 5 or 10 minutes. And sometimes it takes a few minutes to kind of play catch up. And then you realize, go, oh, now I'm feeling full, versus I'm just going to add to it. I can't tell you the number of times. I have 3 boys. They all eat like linemen. And one of them went back for more food, loaded up his plate again, ate maybe 3 or 4 bites, and then he stopped. And then I said, you know what Nana would say? Nana's my mom. And he was like, what? I go, you have big eyes. And that means he was excited to serve himself more food. He thought he was hungry, but then he wasn't. And so, you know, that's a good learning experience for him. So I suggest, you know, sit for about 5 minutes or so after you're done eating. And if you find that you're still hungry, you know, okay, look at your day. Maybe it was a heck of a workout, or you had missed a meal or two. But usually if you wait a few minutes, you'll find that you're satisfied. Tip number 6, is to finish your meal without carbohydrates. For me, I find what works really well is when I finish with my salad. In our house, we have, well, I'll call them 20 ingredient salads pretty much every single day with dinner. And then you might go, but Eric, what if you're having a salad for dinner? No, I don't have a salad before I have a salad, but we usually have a big hearty salad with, chickpeas and artichoke hearts and beets and radishes and several different types of lettuces and olives and things like that in our salad. We had some stuffed mushrooms and some garlic stuffed olives the other day. Those were very good. So I finish my meal with my salad because I don't want to have a sweet carbohydrate taste in my mouth when I'm done eating. Let's say, for example, you are going to have spaghetti and meatballs. Not an uncommon meal. Maybe it's meat sauce. It could be whole wheat spaghetti, what have you. But when you finish that bowl or a plate, one, spaghetti is really easy to eat, but it does have a kind of a sweet flavor to it. It's all carbohydrates. And then when you get done eating, it's kind of like, you know what would be really good right now is another bowl of spaghetti and meatballs. So what I do, not all the time, but when I find that that's what's going to be my meal, is I will eat it first, whatever size, and then I have my salad second. So there's a lot of chewing involved with the salad. It leaves kind of a cleaner taste in my mouth. That's kind of the idea, is that if you're having broccoli or celery or carrots or radishes or whatever types of vegetables you have, if you finish with it, you don't have that sweet, you know what sounds really good is more, but you just kind of finish. So try that out. See what that's like to kind of have your vegetation or your crunchy vegetables at the end when you're done. All right, tip number 7, the last one for you. I think this is a very effective way to help you lose weight, keep it off, and that is brushing your teeth immediately after your meal. Don't leave any kind of residue of any kind in your mouth, because there's going to be a little flavor in there on your tongue, palate, teeth, gums. And especially if you finished off something that had carbohydrates, your body's going to want more carbohydrates. So, in this house, it's usually, after breakfast and after dinner. And I know you go, well, what do I do when I'm at work? You know what? Bring a little travel toothbrush with you. Take 2 minutes. Brush, floss, mouthwash, whatever you need to do. And then you won't be as hungry because you'll have a nice clean mouth. So, those are my 7 tips for you on how to lose weight and keep it off. You can start doing these today and let me know how it goes.